Hi, welcome back to Box to Lights. Today we're going to be playing this mystery and deduction card game called Awkward Guests. And I wanted to do a quick demo of the solo game. This plays 1 to 8. If you want to play solo, you are going to need a digital app on iOS or Android. I've got my iPad here ready. The game is pretty straightforward to play. We are trying to solve a mystery of a murder in the Walton mansion. These are a bunch of double-sided sheets that help you solve the mystery. It's kind of like Cluedo, right? But a little bit more complex. We've all been summoned, us and our fellow investigators, to the Walton mansion after receiving an urgent call. We find that Mr. Walton has been found dead in his study. We've got to determine who killed him, why, and how did he reach his end. There could also be an accomplice, and what were the accomplice's motives. There's some little premises that help you solve this. There's always the same number of suspects, and they all have different motives that are appropriate to them, and we're going to have a bunch of cards that give you clues, and we know that the murderer could be lying. Okay, so these clues could be testimony from the murderer or the murderer's accomplice if there is one, and those could be lies, but everybody else is going to be telling the truth. There's also the police, who can give us information about the crime scene, which is in the study, and there's a housemaid who will give you information about where certain guests were at the time of the murder. Okay, so we're going to kind of dive straight in and learn to play as we play. Here's a map of the Walton mansion, and I'm going to use this to kind of indicate what I'm doing as we play. Alright. If you're playing 8 players, there's 8 player screens, so you can hide information that you're discovering from other players, but I'm just going to show you how this plays solo. Now if you're worried about spoilers, let it be known with the app it's going to generate one of thousands of cases. So there's a very slim chance you might be doing the same case that we're doing. All these combinations of, you're going to use 70 out of a set of 243 cards, so there's many permutations, so the chances of you doing the same case as me is remote, but even if you do, you're going to remember that. But there you go, so don't worry about spoilers. There are a bunch of fixed cases at the end of the rulebook, alright, so you don't have to use the app, but you do for the solo game anyway. But if you play multiplayer, you don't need to, but there's about 30 to 40 cases in the back of the book. Alright, so we're going to just start a random solo case. We can choose a difficulty from beginner down to perfect crime, and the complexity of what the murderer might have been doing as they travel from room to room, whether there's an accomplice or not, is given by the difficulty. Let's start on beginner level. Now we know with beginner level there's not going to be an accomplice. It says solve the case before we run out of points. We're going to have 70 points to spend. Okay, and points will allow us to draw cards, and each card has a certain value. It's going to eat up those points. Alright, let's begin and show you how this works. And it says we start the game with 6 cards, and they all have numbers. So I'm going to go and grab these cards. There's a handy tray to help you sort the cards. It says 36, 76, 88, 6. Right, here's my 6 starting cards as determined by the app. Now let's go through and we'll explain how we can use these cards. Here's the values in the top left corner. Okay, so you get 3s, 1s and 2s. Right, 3s are probably more information, 1s a little bit less information, a bit more vague about what clues they give away. Right, let's go through these and we'll see how we use this information and start the investigation. I'm just going to write the case number up here, so if you do want to do this one in the future, you know it's 013369-Z. Okay. Right, was there an accomplice? No. So we just need to find out who the murderer was and why and how. The murder happened here in the study. poor Mr. Walton is found deceased here. These 4 white rooms, these are the rooms that each of our suspects could be in at the time of the murder, apart from obviously the murderer and the accomplice who were here committing the murder. The murderer is going to lie about where they were, but what we know about the murder is they started also in one of these 4 white rooms, and in each of these rooms is a weapon, kind of like Cluedo, right? So there's a curtain cord in the library, there's a blunderbuss in the living room. The murderer would have started in one of these rooms and travelled down these routes to the study, the routes given by these grey arrows. So for example, assuming they started in the living room and went from the living room to the kitchen, and perhaps here they picked up the frying pan, and then from here they went to the shed, and from then there to the study and committed the murder with the frying pan. We know that's the route they took. So people like the housekeepers may give us clues about who they saw at different times during the evening. Right, let's start looking at the 6 clues we got to start with. Now the service staff reports that the Berwick sisters, we can indicate them with a letter B or a double B, because they're a single suspect but there's 2 of them, and that's important because sometimes they might say there's 4 guests in the living room. That could be Angelica, Claudette and the 2 Berwick sisters. That could be 4 people. But it's still 1 suspect. It says that the Berwick sisters and Claudette Calazar did not pass through the trophy room. Okay, so we've established a little bit of information already. So we can say the Berwick sisters and Claudette did not pass through the trophy room. Alright, cool. So if we find out the murder weapon was a shotgun, we can immediately rule them out, right? Okay, what does this one say? The service staff reports that none of the guests entered the bedroom from the garage and vice versa. Okay, so the service staff tell us that this route here was not used. All right, so we can start making some assumptions there too. What else have we got? Okay, this is in the study. Right, after examining the body, the coroner determined that a suffocating weapon was not used to murder Mr. Walton. So there's different types of weapons. There's blunt weapons, firearms, bladed weapons, poisons, suffocated weapons. So we know it was not the leather strap, not the rope, not the pillow, and not the curtain cord. And we can actually start, if we want, crossing them off here as well. So the leather strap in the garage was not used. The pillow from the bedroom was not used. The rope from the shed was not used, and the curtain cord from the library was not used. Alright, so that's quite a lot of information about the murder weapon, hence why it's a level 3, a 3 valued clue. Okay, what next? This clue tells us that Angelica claims she was in the living room at the time of the murder. So Angelica was here. Of course, she could be lying. If she's lying, then she's the murderer. The shotgun was not the murder weapon, so we can cross off the shotgun from the trophy room. That's only cost 1 clue, not much info. Okay, and then we've got a police report that says that among the possible motives, none were of type payback. So that's a little bit of police intel. So these are all the different motives, okay, that each person might have. For example, Greg has 3 possible motives: a stolen recipe, fixed rights, and animal cruelty. These are the things that motivate Greg, right? So what this says is none of them were type payback, and payback is these 2 little arrows. So we can cross this off. And unforeseen business from Claudette we know was not a motive, and a pirated idea from Mortimer was not a motive. And obviously if we cross off all 3 motives for Greg, we can rule Greg out. So there's different ways to get to the information we need. Alright, so that's our initial 6 clues. So now we have an opportunity to make some inquiries. We've got 2 things we can do. We can inquire about a room, we can inquire about a suspect. We can inquire about 2 suspects or 2 rooms. We have to be a little bit cautious, and we need to spread out the type of information we get. So if we keep asking about the library, for example, we may just keep getting the same clues back over and over and not find out anything new. So why don't we start get some more crime scene information. Let's start in the study. And is there anyone I'm particularly suspicious of? Not at the moment, I don't think there is. Let's try and get a little bit more information. Let's have a look in the living room and see if there's anything more that verifies Angelica's claim. Alright, so let's go for the study and the living room. So now we go back to the app, hit the next button. It says, what references do you want information about? So let's choose the study and the living room. So we scroll through here and we pick the living room and the study the crime scene. And then we hit the next button. And then we've got choices. It says we can have 3 cards worth 6 points, 2 cards worth 2 points, so that'll be 1, 2 1-point cards, 3 cards worth 5 points, or 1 random card worth 1 point. If we don't think any of this is going to help us, we can just pick a random card. It could be about anything. So why don't we go for the most information? Let's go for 3 cards worth 6 points. Remember, we start with 70. And it tells us to pull cards 70, 72 and 172. And what you'll find playing solo is if you keep pushing the same points, we keep pushing the living room and the study, we may find these cards keep coming up. And that's a symptom in the multiplayer game too, because people giving you cards will be other players. They've all got a hand of 6 cards. You reach out and says, does anyone know anything about the living room? And the same person could keep giving you the same information. You know, if they give you a card for the living room, you take it, and you could give it back to them, and then they could give it back to you, and you know, you could get the same cards over and over. So it's you've got to kind of explore all lots of different possibilities. But here we've got 3 cards. We've got a 3-pointer, a 2-pointer, and a 1-pointer. That amounts for the 6 points. So we're down to 64. Alright, so there's no time limit per se, but we've got 70 points worth of clues to get through before we're forced to make a proposed solution. Alright, what have we established? All the cards that we learn in the solo game, just place them to one side. They're clues that we've used. They could come up again. Like I said, we may, if we inquire about the study, we may get this information again. There's no knowing what information you're going to get. Alright, let's go through these clues. Let's start with the reference to the study. It says, after examining the body, the coroner did not find signs of a fight. So signs of a fight are these 2 arrows. So we know it was not the shotgun, well, we already established that. Yeah, not the pillow, not the curtain cord. So that really didn't tell us anything, did it? Because we already ruled those things out. So that was a 3 points kind of wasted. Alright. The housekeeper reports that there were 2 people in the living room at the time of the murder. So there were 2 guests here in the living room. One of them could have been Angelica. So if 3 people claim to be in the living room, then we know one of them is lying and they're the murderer. Okay. We've also established the 1-pointer tells us the blunderbuss was not the murder weapon. Okay. So firearms, blunderbuss. Alright. So if the murderer did start in the living room, they didn't use the blunderbuss, that means they would have taken some roundabout route to get to the study. Right, we haven't really established a great deal there. We know somebody else is in here. Could be Angelica, could be somebody else. Of course, this all could be innocent stuff. Let's see what else is going on. Let's assume Angelica's telling the truth and she was there in the living room. Let's see what everybody else was doing. Let's see. Maybe we'll go to the study again to see if we can get a little bit more information out of the crime scene. We know the route didn't go this way. Let's try the kitchen as well. See if there's anything happening here. How about that? Study and kitchen. So on the app, we'll go next. Study and kitchen next. It says we can have 2 cards worth 6 points. So we might throw this one out again. That would be rubbish. 3 cards worth 6 points, 2 cards worth 4. Well, we're just tentatively inquiring about the kitchen. We're not that certain about it. So why don't we go 3 cards worth 6? 15, 35 and 54. I'm not sure if there's good tactics to this game or not. I'm just starting to learn. Alright, let's see what we've established. We're down to 58 points. Right, we've got a 1, a 2 and a 3. Let's start with the 1. Right, this is a kitchen piece of information. The service staff reports that none of the guests entered the living room from the kitchen and vice versa. So this route we know was not taken. So if it was someone from the living room, they've gone a different route. Although they could have gone this way. Long way round, but still. Alright. The service staff reports that Claudette Calazar and Mortimer Mollo did not pass through the kitchen. Okay, not sure that tells us anything. So they did not pass through the kitchen. Is that because they weren't the murderer, or because they were still wherever they were at the beginning? Who knows? But if it does end up being Claudette and Mortimer, then we do establish a little bit about where they might have gone. Okay. After examining the body, the coroner determined that a bladed weapon was not used. Alright, so we can cross off the kitchen knife from the kitchen. We can cross off the letter opener from the bedroom. The machete from the trophy room. And the sabre from the vestibule. Alright, so if it was the trophy room, it would have been the Derringer. Okay, so let's try and establish something else. We don't know much about the billiard room, the trophy room. We've got some information on. Why don't we try the shed and the garage? See if that gives us any more information about the murder weapon. The murder weapon might be our strongest link at the moment. So let's try the shed and the garage, shall we? Shed, garage and the shed. Okay. Next. Right, 2 cards worth 3 points. 3 cards worth 5, or 3 cards worth 4. Let's go for 3 cards worth, 3 cards worth 5. Let's see what we got. 181 and 149. 181 and 149. So, like I said, I like to spread out my investigations to begin with, because we don't want to get duplicate clues. It's a waste. Okay, we're down to 53 points, so we've still got a lot of income left. Alright, so we've got a 2, 2 and a 1. The service staff tell us that none of the guests entered the library from the shed, so that route is not used. They tell us that Angelica and Claudette did not pass through the shed. And the service staff reports that Stanley Smith and Mortimer Mollo did not pass through the garage. Right, so all pretty incidental information. Alright, that's not helped us. Maybe it's time we started questioning some guests. So let's question Angelica. Her name's popped up a few times. And Claudette. See what they have to say for themselves. Angelica and Claudette. Next. Ooh, 3 cards worth 8 points. That's a 3, 3 and a 2. That's a lot of points, but a lot of information. That makes me suspicious. I'm going to do it. 74, 204 and 239. 204. 239 we already knew. 239. Yeah, was this one. That was a 3er. Yeah, that was motives payback. Alright, so we've only got 2 pieces of information here. 239 was a clue about Claudette. So not much info on Claudette. Right, what have we got? We've got, in regards to Angelica, supporting evidence regarding Angelica Arbinson's motives, Sinister's plans to discover. So, this suggests that this is a possible motive. It doesn't mean that she's the murderer. It just means that there's evidence that that's of a motive. All right, from the police. Okay, this is hard evidence. Suspects can kind of dob each other in, but if they're the murderer, they might be telling lies, and that's what these other little speech bubbles is. That's kind of a witness testimony that they think this person has this motive. Alright, now we've got a police report that shows that among the possible motives, none were of type financial. Okay, so these two things actually contradicted each other. So there were no sinister plans. So despite this motive, sinister plans was not a motive. Right. Financial was not a motive. Okay, so now I'm less suspicious of Angelica. It suggests that if Angelica was the murderer, then her motive would be sinister. So I'm going to kind of rule her out for the moment and go, okay, she had just cause, but her motive's been disproven. So maybe she has some kind of alibi. Nothing much came up about Claudette there. And the only information we got was a piece of information we already had. So let's put these two aside at the moment. Let's try and establish where everybody else was. Let's try... why don't we try Greg and Mortimer? Okay. You've burned up quite a lot of information there. So Greg and Mortimer. Another 3 cards worth 8 points, 2 cards worth 5. Do we want some hard facts about these two? Let's get 2 cards worth 5. 91 and 149. 91. I'm pretty sure 149's already come out. That's a shame. Yeah, it was a 2-pointer about Mortimer. So not much information on Mortimer either. Alright, we've got some police reports. And it says, the police report says that among the possible motives, none were of the type resentment, which is this kind of lightning bolt thing. Poison chalice, okay. So we're homing in on some motives. We didn't get much information on Mortimer, did we? This was about Greg. Oh man. Let's find something out about Stanley then. Still not got much on the murder weapon. Let's try Stanley in the study again. Stanley and the study. The crime scene. 3 cards worth 6. 3 cards worth 4. 2 cards worth 6. 40 points remaining. We need a breakthrough somewhere. So I'm going to go for 2 cards worth 6. It says 83 and 178. 83 is new, good. 178 is new, brilliant. So that's 2 key pieces of evidence. Right, let's see what we've got. Both referencing the study. Alright, so we've got nothing on Stanley. After examining the body, the coroner did not find strong odours. Okay, that's these wiggly lines. So, not the wrench from the garage. Obviously smell of oil or something. Not the revolver from the bedroom. Revolver. So if the murderer went through the bedroom, it's the poisonous plant. Not the pesticide from the shed. So if it's the shed, then it's the shovel. And not the leather strap, we knew that already. Okay, we've got quite a lot of info there. Oh, and more on the murder weapon. After examining the body, the coroner did not find traces of dirt. So not the shovel from the shed. Not the machete. Not the poisonous plant. Okay, so we're ruling out a couple of rooms. The murder weapon's not from here, not from here. And not the rope. Okay. So we know it's not the bedroom, not the shed. No one came through here. No one came from here. No one came from here. Right, we've got quite a lot of info now, haven't we? This route was not taken, this route was not taken. The only way into the bedroom is from the kitchen, and they couldn't get to the kitchen. So I'm going for the trophy room and the derringer, possibly the garage with the antifreeze, or possibly the billiard room with the cue. So we're homing in on the location. I think it's this way. So let's go for rooms. And they could have gone this way. It could have gone the long route round. So let's go for the trophy room in the garage. Yeah? Possibly the billiard room. I know we have quite a lot of clues on the garage. In the top here, you see on the top right, it says like this is a clue from the garage. It's also a Stanley clue and a Mortimer clue. So if they didn't, I think the murderer had to pass through the garage, which kind of rules out Stanley and Mortimer. So it's one of these four. All we've got on the trophy room is that it was not the shotgun. So if it's not Stanley, not Mortimer, we also know it wasn't the Berrics or the C's, which means it's Greg or Angelica. If it's Angelica, either she's lying and she was in the billiard room and it was principals. So what about Greg here? Could it be Greg? Maybe I'm going to go for the billiard room and Greg. Billiard room and Greg. Two cards worth 4, 3 cards worth 5, 3 cards worth 3. I'm just trying to get some little bits of information. 3 cards worth 3. Okay, 145. 165. And 233. You might think this is a pile of trash, but I'm hoping that these little incidental things will allow me to put things together. And actually deduce quite a lot. Let's see. Right, Stanley says that Greg might have been motivated by fixed fights in the murder. And I believe Stanley. I believe you. Stanley might have been. So Stanley says this. Yeah, well that's a clue. Mortimer, who I also think is innocent, asserts that Greg might have been motivated by fixed fights. So Greg says the same. They're supporting each other's statements. And the service staff reports that none of the guests entered the vestibule from the billiard room, and vice versa. Okay, so we know billiard room. Greg's looking suspicious, and it's either the derringer or the antifreeze. Although they could have gone this way, I suppose, vestibule. But I'm suspicious. Greg, you're in my sights. Would it have been the billiard room and Greg? I'm going to go for them two again, but I'm going to go for some higher points. So billiard room and Greg. 3 cards worth 7, 2 cards worth 2, 2 cards worth 6 is what I'm going to go for. 91 and 239. 91 I've already got. And 239 I already got. I learned nothing. So I'm going to have to try something else. There's no point pushing billiard room and Greg. So let's go for trophy room and garage and see if we can't eliminate some stuff. Okay. 2 cards worth 3, 3 cards worth 5, 2 cards worth 2. So it's going to be a 1 and a 2, 2 1s, 1 1 2 or 1 2 3. Let's burn 5 points. 17, 36 and 74. 17, right, we've got a new clue. 36 we've already got. 74 we've already got. So we've only got one new clue. I bet it's a oneer. It is. It says either the Berwick sisters or Greg Gaffney might have passed through the trophy room. Oh. Well, we know the Berwick sisters didn't. We've already got evidence to say. So Greg did. Alright. So Greg is definitely in here. Which means, I mean, it could have gone from the vestibule to the trophy room, but I'm guessing the billiard room. I mean, it could have been any of these things three. There's a little route through here. We've just got to hone in on that weapon, haven't we? So Greg, I think it was you, and you've gone this way. Which weapon? That was 5 points, wasn't it? I want some 3-pointers from these rooms, really. Let's try this once more. The trophy room and the garage. 3 cards worth 5. 2 cards worth 2, that's 2 ones. 2 cards worth 3. 3 cards worth 5. That's just what we did though. It's not really helping me at all. So I'm just going to burn one random card worth 1 point. And it says 172. I'm going to have to change my questioning. 172 already had. Right, that's not getting me anywhere. Greg. Could he have gone through the vestibule? It's really hard. This is where the game gets tricky because you've got few points and you're trying to eke out a little bit more information. Well, let's just go back to the study and the crime scene. Vestibule and study. Might just take 3 ones. 100. 196. That's another clue. 100 and 233. Are there some little clues here? No, 233 I've already got. So I've got 2 ones here. Do they give me anything new? The service staff reports that none of the guests entered the vestibule from the trophy room. Alright, so we've blocked that route. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, so we know this is what's happened. We know it's come this way. And we also know none of the guests entered the vestibule from the living room and vice versa. Okay. Alright, so this is the only route. Greg, and it's either the Q, the Derringer, or the antifreeze. How can I get more information about the weapon? Now if it's the Q, that's a blunt weapon, isn't it? There's also blunt weapons in the kitchen. So we could ask about the kitchen and see if it's a blunt weapon. It was used as there's a frying pan in there. Antifreeze is a poison. There's also rat poison in the kitchen. Let's see if a poison was used. Maybe we'll try the kitchen and the study once more. Yeah. Kitchen and the study. Okay, study and kitchen. 2 cards worth 2, 3 cards worth 4, 3 cards worth 7. Let's go for 3 cards worth 7. 162. 197. Oh, we got a good one. 162. Another good one. And then 228. 228. Oh, great. We got 3 decent clues. Perfect. Might have been some good logic there. Hopefully the murder weapon. After examining the body, the coroner did not find traces of a dark powder. So it was not the frying pan in the kitchen, but we kind of knew that. And it was not the Q in the billiard room. There's chalk dust from the end of the Q. And it was not the blunderbuss. So now we know it's the antifreeze or the Derringer. Not rat poison, so that rules the kitchen out. Well, we kind of knew that anyway. The service staff reports that none of the guests entered the kitchen from the bedroom, and vice versa. So no one went this way. We also knew that. And after examining the body, the coroner did not find heavy bleeding. So heavy bleeding rules out the revolver in the bedroom, kitchen knife in the kitchen, and the sabre from the vestibule, the rat poison in the kitchen. Really? We still don't know, do we? The Derringer didn't cause heavy bleeding. So is it there or there? Right, we've got 9 more points. I think we just have to keep grabbing more clues. Antifreeze is cyanosis or bruises, which can also come from the shovel and the letter opener. And it can also leave an oily substance. Oily substances can be found in the kitchen, in the garage, and what about the gun? The Derringer has defensive wounds. Well, I guess the library might tell us if there was defensive wounds. Should we go for the library? Alright, let's see. We've only got 9 points left, so we're coming close. So we're going to go for the library and the garage. 2 cards worth 4, 3 cards worth 4, 3 cards worth 3. I'm going to go for 3 cards worth 4. 153, 193 is a new clue, 153 is a new clue, and 242. Alright, we've got 3 clues. Will any of these rule out the murder weapon? Right, the curtain cord was not the weapon. That doesn't help us. The housekeeper reports there were 2 people in the library at the time of the murder. That doesn't help us. And Stanley Smith claims that he was in the library, so Stanley was here. Alright, that didn't help us at all. We've only got 5 points left, and we've got to guess this weapon. Alright, let's go for the study and the trophy room. And we'll just see, we've got 5 points left. You never know. We might get something new. I doubt it. 2 cards worth 3. 2 cards worth 4. 2 cards worth 4. 100 and 148. 100 we've already got. I think we've already got 148 as well. Nope, there it is. We've got a new clue. Okay. It's a 3er. Ooh. After examining the body, the coroner did not find signs of an attack from behind, which rules out the blunderbuss, the machete, and the leather strap. Still no good. We've got 1 point left. Yeah, we're not able to solve it, are we? Study and Greg. I don't think we're going to get anything more out of the crime scene, unfortunately. It doesn't matter, we've only got 1 point left, so it's 1 random card worth 1 point, and it's card number 9. Will it be enough to give us any information? The police states that the Berwick sisters' motive, excessive ambition, was not the crime motive. No, it didn't tell us anything. We already knew that. Okay, so we've got to make a solve guess now. So from what we've pieced together, we've said it's Greg. Why? Fixed rights. Fixed fights, sorry. Someone's been fixing fights. And how? And we're going to have to make a guess here. Was it the Derringer or the antifreeze? He passed through the trophy room. We were asking loads of information and getting nowhere. I'm going to just say the Derringer. I'm just going to guess at the Derringer. Although, I'd have thought it would have been pretty obvious if it was a Derringer. I think I'm going to bottle it and go for the antifreeze. It's a 50-50 chance, right? And no accomplice. Alright. So let's see what happened. We go to solve. Who? Greg. It says why? Fixed fights. And how? Antifreeze. Alright, and we check our solution. It says, investigator, let's check your solution. You think it was Greg Gaffney with the antifreeze motivated by fixed fights. Is that right? Yes. No, it says keep on investigating. We were wrong. Okay, we've got no more points left, so unfortunately we can't guess again, so we have to see the solution. I bet it's the Derringer. Let's have a look. if you continue to see, what the good thing about using the app is, if you want to keep going, you don't kind of you don't spoil it. You don't actually look up the answer to see if you're right. It just tells you whether you're right or wrong. Do you want to continue? Yes. Yeah, it says Greg Gaffney with the Derringer and fixed vice. So we were very close, very close. That was it. We just could not get that murder weapon. That can happen, unfortunately, with the solo game. You just can't pull out the right clue. So I think maybe we needed to kind of try and rule out some of these other things. Maybe the bedroom was somewhere we could have investigated. We didn't really investigate the bedroom. That might have helped us to rule out a weapon with bruises. There we are then. That's Awkward Guests. 2 out of 3 is pretty good, and it's about having fun along the way, trying to solve this thing. At least we arrested the right guy. I hope you've enjoyed this little solo demonstration. Thanks for watching. See you next time.